Several of us have dreamed of being part of WWE, and the company in some other way has made some wrestlers have fan characters in their debuts so that we can identify with them. And that's why in this video, I bring you the 5 wrestlers who debuted as fans in WWE. Number 5, Rosa Mendez. This wrestler caught the attention of the company for her participation in the Diva Search program, which of course was looking for divas, as the name says, and signed a developmental contract with the company. She first appeared in a 2008 Raw, where she held a sign saying she was Beth Phoenix's #1 fan. The Glamazon saw this and hired her, and Rosa began to appear more often with Beth and Santino. However, the company abandoned this story and left Rosa as a manager, and then as a wrestler. Her career really couldn't take off 100%, and she ended up being fired in those classic waves of annual layoffs a few years later. Number 4, Zach Gowen. When this wrestler was a child, he survived a cancer that would cost him a leg. However, that didn't stop him from following his dream of becoming a professional wrestler and signing with WWE. On May 15, 2003, Mr. America was being beaten by Roddy Piper and his henchmen. However, a fan jumped the barricade to help his hero and ended up being attacked by wrestlers and security personnel. The most amazing thing was when Piper accidentally removed his prosthetic leg, leaving fans quite confused. During the short time he was contracted to the company, he had run-ins with top wrestlers and was brutally attacked by Brock Lesnar and Vince McMahon.
Brock Lesnar beat you up in front of your mom.
And my brother and my grandmother.
Right. Yeah. Now that you're a father, how do you look at that segment differently? Because you bled a lot.
I feel bad. I feel bad for my mom. And she was such a pro. Like, how can you sit there in the front row and watch this, even if you know that it's scripted, even if you know that it's coming? And she knew everything that was going to happen. She had her cues, except for the blood. She did not know about the blood, and she was pissed. So
you bled a lot.
It was the first time I ever gigged.
Is this the scar here?
Yes.
That's a big scar.
Listen, I don't know what WWE was thinking. Let's take a 19-year-old barely trained wrestler who's only been wrestling for about 6 months, and let's ask him to gig on national television for the first time in his life. What could go wrong? This is what went wrong.
How many stitches is that?
Nothing.
What?
No, I think they glued it up and they taped it up, and I was out partying all night the night that it happened.
Today, he is still fighting, and we saw him a couple of weeks ago against Ricochet in AEW. Number 3, Serena. On January 22, 2010 on SmackDown, the Discipline Society was recruiting new members, and Serena, who was in the audience, offered to be next to CM Punk and Luke Gallows. To belong to this stable, she had to shave her head completely, to which most said she wasn't going to do it, but she did. Unfortunately, she was never able to take off in WWE, so she went bald for nothing and ended up getting fired. Fortunately, though, she is doing quite well in the independent circuits and even won the NWA Women's title and has had appearances in AEW. Number 2, Beth Phoenix. She made her debut on May 8, 2006 on Monday Night Raw. As a fan who couldn't resist was attacking Trish Stratus and Maria. Beth, what she did was jump the barricade and quickly attack the champion, Mickey. The following week, it was implied that the Divas champion and this crazy weird fan had some sort of relationship in the past. Fortunately, the story was short-lived because it was pretty bad. Fortunately, she managed to become one of the most decorated women in WWE despite the strange way she arrived. Number 1, Santino. On April 16, 2007, at a Monday Night Raw that was held in Milan, Italy, something magnificent happened because Vince came out and offered any fan that was present the opportunity to wrestle one Umaga for the Intercontinental Championship. The one who accepted this challenge was Santino, and he got a standing ovation from the fans, especially because the man showed a great performance against the Samoan Bulldozer. McMahon and Armando Alejandro Estrada intervened in almost the entire bout to prevent their protege from losing the title. However, ECW champion Bobby Lashley came out and attacked the Samoan, causing his inevitable defeat and crowning Santino as Intercontinental Champion on the same day he debuted.
So what day do you go from being in the back with everybody else to making the transition to you're an audience member for the beginning of the show?
Yeah, so it's funny. This was in the middle of a tour. So I'm at the hotel and no one's there. They come on that night. So I'm already in my room sleeping. So I wake up, there's the bus is leaving at whatever, 10 a.m. or something. And I come down to go on the bus. And, I knew some people from OVW, but some people that were in the WWE, they didn't know who I was. They thought I worked for the European office or something. And then I'm just hanging around and raw, and then someone calls me and says, Vince would like to speak to you. And I'm like, that's, the first time I met Vince and stuff. And, amazing experience. Puts everything down, turns, you have his full attention, and just, it was a very good experience.
So at what point, like, I imagine you get there with everybody else. Then when do they go, okay, well, Santino, you're going to go out in the crowd now?
Oh, so as I'm walking in the door, I had met Arn Anderson before at OVW, and literally, like, they're walking out of the production meeting. He has his, his papers in his back pocket, and he walks by and goes, hey, kid, you having a good day? You're winning the IC strap, and walks away. I'm like, IC strap? That means Intercontinental Championship? Like, did I just hear that right? And then someone confirmed it. We had a little walkthrough, and then the show starts, and then they bring me out to a seat that says reserved. And then the scene. But the crazy thing was when Vince's music hit, everybody rushed the barricade, like 4 or 5 people deep. And I'm like, oh my God, he's not going to see me. And I'm like panicked. And then slowly, as he's talking, they kind of filtered back to their seats. And then Umaga came out, and it might have been the other order, but they rushed the barricade again. I go, oh my God, I lost my opportunity again. And then they kind of filtered back to their seats. And then when he said, does anybody in the audience? And I'm like, phew, and I was there. I was front row. I think I even had to, nudge someone out of the way. But I had to make sure he can see me. And then he scanned the audience and said, you, that guy.
Yeah, in the brown shirt.
Yeah. I still have that shirt. I'm saving it for the movie.